Welcome, everyone, to this episode of the Expansive CEO podcast. I am your host, Hannah Chapman, and one of my favorites, my human design bestie in the whole world for sure, is here with us again today, Lauren Ammon. Hello, don't do that with your hands. There we go. Just put them down. Just put them down, Ricky Bobby. So we are going to talk about so many cool things today. We're going to talk about manifestors for the most part. We are talking manifestor talk today. And Lauren has also been working on something super, super important and impactful called the frequency mirror that we're going to talk about too, because everything we're talking about with manifestors, technically, I mean, it applies to everyone. It's just very, very common for manifestor children, manifestor adults, having grown up from being a child, do not have a good grasp of how powerful their energy is. And they have been working from their not self and from their borrowed frequency, as Lauren likes to put it, um, for their whole entire lives. And so it makes it very hard for them to see themselves clearly. So, LA, what's up? How are you doing?
Oh,
Yeah, take it
what is
away.
up? I mean, what is up, right? I mean, there's energetically, we're never outside of a shitstorm, I guess. But that's why we do these sorts of things is to understand where that's coming from. How do we get ourselves out of it? And really have been working on the frequency mirror. And the more that I kind of play around just, talking about it, kind of what it is, I love that name because that's what I personally love to do is to be able to dive deep into the frequency that any individual is here to have, what they were born with, reflect back all aspects of it, all the things that are shiny, all the things that live in the shadows, all the things that affect and impact someone's life positively, maybe negatively, and just really kind of root through where that's all coming from, dive really deep into the details, but come back up and say, okay, now that we understand the context, we understand where it's coming from, your energy, the problems, quote unquote, that you experience with your energy. Okay, now that we've rooted through all that, how then do we keep moving forward?
Hmm.
That's what I love to do with everybody I talk to, but it's always a special thing when it comes to manifestors because as you'd say, like a lot of them have no idea they're actually here to create, initiate
Hmm.
and impact the world
Yeah.
because most parents, and I'm not saying all parents, but most parents aren't even aware that they have a manifestor. And if they do, what to do with that
Right.
so that their energy isn't affected or impacted, but it always will be, right? Because when we just connect with people, but to let that manifestor kind of shine and understand what it means to be someone who's here to inform and initiate,
Hmm.
but also connect with other people to keep that vision going.
Yes. And so I'll give a little bit of backstory of why this was coming up so strongly for me this week. And I reached out. It was Sunday. I was like, I was thinking, I'd had this great conversation on Saturday. And then Sunday morning, I was like, Lauren, I need you to ponder something with me.
Of course, I was like, absolutely.
Right. Give me all the details. So last Saturday, I was not at the time of this, when you're hearing this, it'll have been months ago. But, so just a few days ago, I was with my husband's family and my brother-in-law. So my sister-in-law is my husband's youngest sibling, his younger sister. Her husband has been just doing so many interesting things lately, learning about astral projection, learning about, kind of like learning more about his astrological natal chart. And then he thought about human design and they were like, oh, Hannah knows, she talks about human design all the time. And like, oh,
Yeah.
let me read my chart. So find out that my sister-in-law's husband, so brother-in-law, he's a projector. He's a 3/5 projector, splenic authority, and my sister-in-law, Carly, is a splenic manifestor, a 1/3 splenic manifestor. And then my husband is also a manifestor. He's a 2/4 emotional manifestor. And manifestors are 9%, like 8 to 9% of the population. They're a very small part of the population. It's not like there's just, tons of them running around. But somehow in this family of three siblings, the oldest and youngest, two of the three siblings are manifestors. And then the middle, he is a manifesting generator. And so I was like, what? Like, that's crazy to me, first of all, like that as parents, my in-laws were raising these two very dynamic beings. All three of them really, but especially, that manifestor energy and aura is very different. Um, and that both of them had this reaction of when reading their more full report, that's like, that doesn't sound like me. I don't recognize myself in that. And when I've worked with other manifestors as well, even, in their 40s, 50s, 60s, um, there is a real like resistance to like that. I don't feel like that. I don't understand that. I don't understand how I'm supposed to initiate. I don't understand that I'm supposed to be here to like make a big impact. Like I don't get that. And it's creating this space in me where I feel like, oh my God, like you have to know how powerful and amazing you are and how important your voice is. We need you. We need you to understand your energy. And it was feeling like there's like a piece of heartbreak to me that like, Adam read his chart and he's like, that sounds like you, not me. I was like, no, 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 no. I don't feel like that sounds like me, but he sees that in me, not in himself.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, can you, so there's the backstory is that I was like mind blown, that again, there's so many manifestors in this, little family of five and, and then not to, I'm always very, very careful and mindful that this is not to throw blame or shame or guilt on any parent ever. Because how do you know unless you know to look? Unless you know to like pull your child's chart and like be like, oh, you're a projector. Oh, you're a manifestor. Oh, you're a reflector. Like if you have one of these unique little beings, you don't know because you're so used to just like this is what everyone is supposed to be like, which is 70% generators, right? I mean, like,
Yeah.
so there's no guilt, no shame, no anything in like implied or expressed in this conversation, but there is something missing for manifestor children, especially in how we are raising them so that they are not recognizing themselves. So, Lauren, can you explain more about the manifestor aura? Because this is really important.
Yeah. Every type, as you know, but for the audience may not, is that every aura type operates very specifically. So manifestors, well, we'll wait till the end for that, actually. So when you think about generators, because we make up the majority of the world, right? Our auras are open and enveloping. It's like our sacral energy is attracting people all the time, for better or for worse.
Right.
That's why we're also the most susceptible to conditioning. But a projector is their aura is penetrating. They just kind of naturally can get into someone. And that's why the invitation is so important, is because even if we're around a projector, I think some of us can actually feel kind of, especially a generator, right? Is like we can, because we're open and enveloping, we can feel someone kind of in us, which can be uncomfortable in that we don't necessarily always want someone to see it. So that's why the invitation is so important. And then a reflector is looking at sampling, right? They're out there just kind of feeling what's going on in the environment so they can figure out kind of what's going on. And then we have the manifester. A manifester is actually repelling, right? Their auras are actually kind of pushing people out, or pushing energy out. Let's put it that way. They're keeping the energy out of them. And again, from an energy standpoint, whether we're conscious of it or not, I think we can feel that,
Hmm.
and it's interesting is that I've done a lot of work with manifestors, but I don't have a lot of manifestors in my inner like circle, right? So it's hard for me to be like, now that I understand this, would I have been able to recognize if that person was a manifestor? I don't know, but I've made a lot of great manifestor friends who live far from me, so we don't have the kind of one-on-one personal interaction. So I would love to hear from your experience of having a manifestor husband. Kind of, now that you understand this, could you feel that? And then we can kind of like dive into like, because every manifestor that I now know has expressed what you express. Is like, I that doesn't feel like me, or I have a really hard time stepping into that. And I have yet to meet a bulldozer manifestor, actually.
Hmm. Oh yeah, they're very like the manifestors that I have met and know personally. They're very careful. It's like they don't, yeah, they're very careful with their energy. They don't want to repel. Like that ability. It's like they all know they have that ability. And so they pull it back is what I have experienced. And what's interesting about the manifestor aura, so being repelling, like a piece of it is you think about um like an impenetrable bowling ball, right? I mean, like that's kind of what it is. And so even seeing into, right? Like it's like projectors that can see into anyone, like they're like a manifestor can like block it
Yeah.
so that you can't see into them. So you can't know what's happening because they're pushing energy away versus taking energy in. And I I was just saying this before we started recording, like I actually have a lot of people that I know that I really enjoy. Like I have a lot of manifestors, like probably more than that 8 to 9% range like around me and I love them. Um and I just have this like innate understanding of them. I don't know what that is necessarily, but the example that I'll give is that when I started dating, so Adam and I started dating in high school. We became friends junior year of high school. We started dating senior year of high school. And my dad, who has passed away, but was when I pulled his chart, he was a generator, I think just a sacral generator. Um, he literally told me it when we first started dating. He's like, he's not very welcoming. And I was like, I don't know what you mean. He's hilarious. He, like likes me. We get along. We're like best friends before we even started dating. But he was like, yeah, he's just not very welcoming. I don't know what it is. I
Mhm.
didn't understand it back then. But I can, like, oh, he probably was just feeling that because he's not rude.
Yeah.
He's not a rude person.
No.
But
But he's also, and I met Adam and I love him, but he's also not the most like inviting.
right. Oh no.
It's like, again, it's like it's got to be on the right. It's got to be on the generator's response, or and being like, "Hey, Adam." But once you engage him, he's amazing,
Yeah.
and he's very personable, and we'll make jokes and do the things, and but yeah, it's that initial like, oh, kind of thing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you kind of have to like break through that little piece. And what's interesting is that, I mean, I've known him for a long time. We've been together for almost 24 years. And so his younger sister, I've known her since she was in middle school as well. And um, it's so interesting. Like I said, I didn't know, I had no idea that she was a manifestor. I would have guessed, just from her socialization, I would have guessed she was a generator. But no, like not even that's not anywhere. She is the manifestor. Um, and it may, and I can see those pieces of like between the two of them, the socialization as well,
Mm.
right? That like the socialization of boys and the socialization of girls, like how that maybe showed up as well. That boys are supposed to be go for it, take chances, go, be bold in these certain ways where, on the girl side, it's like take care of, the nurturing.
Mhm.
Like you're socialized to be a nurturer.
Mhm.
And it's like, what do we, when it comes to, this is what was really like feeling just really like a grain of sand that I just am like turning over and over is how might things have been different if they knew from the beginning and were like expressly guided in, oh, you want to do that? Okay, here we go. Like,
Yeah.
let's try it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
And you know what's super interesting, yes, is like how do you channel that energy for them? But manifestors, like they can be very different, right? In terms of like Adam, who's an emotional generator, your sister-in-law, who's a splenic generator, and then you can have I'm sorry, manifestor, and then you can have an ego manifestor. Those are wildly different manifestors,
Yeah.
right? So this idea for Adam of being raised of, oh, you want to, this is what I always say is like manifestors aren't here just to go initiate whatever the hell they want, right? They've got to work through their authority to then say, oh, this is correct for me. I then will go inform whomever is going to be affected by what I want to do, and then we'll figure out a way to do it together, right? Because manifestors need other people to help them build, right?
Right.
Preferably generators. Um, but like from Adam's standpoint of his parents being like, okay, awesome, we want to go initiate this. All right, why don't you sit with your emotions a little bit? Like, why don't we look at this decision a couple of different ways? So like tomorrow, come and inform us about what you want to do,
Yeah.
right? See how different that is based on what you say you want to do today. And then looking at it for your sister-in-law is like, it's going to be that silent ping that like how I experience, and this isn't going to be, obviously I'm not a manifester, but like I think sometimes centers can work somewhat similarly depending.
Right. Yeah.
So I get this like weird silent download. It's just this like, oh, there it is. And then to have that spontaneous, like, yeah, this is what I'm gonna do. And then you got an ego manifester whose voice is, well, all of their voices are very powerful, right? Because they're connected to, a motor is connected to their voice. That's what makes them a manifester. But an ego manifester, man, whoa. Like their voice can be so incredibly powerful. And even if they're a splenic manifester who also has a defined ego, typically through the 4521, I think those who have the 4521, man, their voices, and you can just hear the willpower and the commitment come out of them. But even, I mean, even in that household alone, how they raised Adam would be very different than how they raised his sister.
Right.
And think about it from a mind F for parents of like, yes, we all know as parents that we cannot treat our children the same way. Like we intuitively know that we cannot do it.
We know that now. Our
Yeah,
generation knows that.
that's fair. That's fair. Well, some of us know that. Um, but like think about the dynamics of how that would play out of, watching their parents deal with one versus how their parents deal with the other. And the awareness you need to have, okay, then the third one's actually even different. And they're like, oh, sweetheart, you need to sit down and wait until you need to respond, right? It's like I've got these two who can go do quote unquote whatever they want. Not really. But I mean, think about that from a parenting standpoint.
Yeah.
What amazing it would be to be able to exude that level of differentiation in the same household.
Hmm.
Parents also being able to hold their energy for themselves as best they can when you're in a penta or you're one-on-one with somebody else, right? But recognizing that, hey, there are going to be times your child might feel more powerful than you.
Yeah.
And isn't it interesting that all these manifestors we know, it doesn't feel like them when they learn that it is them. And then how many people on the flip side, when they learn that they're not a manifester, they're like, why didn't I
Right.
get the gift of initiation?
So I have heard that so many times. People who are generators who are like, ugh, it's so dumb.
Yes.
Like everybody, yes, especially and even manifesting generators, like we're not here to initiate, even though we've got that manifesting generator, title. We can create things, but it's still always going to be from response,
Yeah.
like from that response strategy. So yes, it's so funny that you now that you say that like so many people wish they were a manifester. Like, man, I would love that. But I have yet to meet a manifester that has felt that way about their design and didn't feel like an alien of some sort.
And what's also super interesting about Adam and his sister is that they're both right angle.
Yeah.
So here to be in their own karma, here to create their own path. That's not necessarily the greatest word to use, but create their own destiny. Let's put it that way. Um, and particularly Carly, I think we said her name, um, like the most innocent of a 1-3.
Hmm.
I can speak as a 1-3. Like sometimes we are just so oblivious. I don't know if any other 1-3 out there, like so oblivious that like one, there's other people out there. Yes, we know there are other people out there, but energetically, sometimes we can't feel that there's something or someone on the other side. And then to learn, especially from a female, to your point, the socialization or the conditioning of a female, one, I'm super innocent. Two, I can go initiate through what my intuition tells me. Like, yeah, I can kind of see how that would be a mind F, right?
Right. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, I have always just taken care of everyone else
Yeah.
and been told that's what I'm supposed to do.
Because she has the 45-21.
Right. Spleen connected through the channel of surrender. So
Yeah.
spleen to 4426 to, and then that ego connects to the throat at the
So,
4521. Yeah.
and what's really interesting is that her willpower, I was going to say, might feel stronger. Because the interesting there is that the ego with the gate of surrender, the gate of or the channel of surrender truly means that the ego surrenders to the spleen.
Mm. Ooh, that's a good nuance.
So your commitment or your willpower surrenders to your intuition.
Mm.
And the way that I interpret it is once your intuition says you're safe, you're healthy, you're secure, this is correct for you in this moment, it's the ego that carries it out.
Ooh, I needed to hear that because I have that. I have that channel.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
But think about the play on that though. and how powerful. This is someone speaking. I can't speak to a defined ego. Mine's completely open. So I got nothing. But you can just I can just hear it in other people. Now that I know what it is, I
Hmm.
can hear it and I'm like, oh damn. Please tell me more. How are you going to guide us as the leader in this tribe and make sure that we're all taken care of? Like, come on, give me. I'm here. I'd like to hear it.
Hmm.
I don't know that I always could have said that, but now that I understand, like, oh, let me tune in.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other aspect of this, so to be a manifester means that you do not have sacral definition, right? You do not have that sacral life force energy like on all the time. That is what makes a generator type a generator. So manifestors, projectors, reflectors, all three of them do not have sacral energy. And that I think that's the other piece, right? That the conditioning is so strong that you should be consistent. You should be doing, this, you should be able to keep up with everyone else with the same workload, with the same schedule, with the same, 9 to 5 that everyone else is doing. And that for any non sacral being is as incorrect as a thing could be for them. But especially for a manifester who's then like, you're going to do what other people tell you to do 9 to 5.
Yeah, fun fact, manifestors, while manifestors are here to inform, they love to be informed. They're not told what to do.
That is,
I feel
yes. Uh-huh. Yeah. That's the place where friction occurs for sure.
yeah, well, understandably.
Right. Like, don't tell me what to do. But also, I don't like to be told what to do. So,
I mean, who does really, right? I mean, we're all here to live in our own energy. What I've also heard from manifestors too is like, don't ask me questions. They're not, don't ask me questions. Like, you can ask questions, but they actually prefer more of just like statements. Simply to be like, the way that I interpret, because I have a manifestor friend that I met through going through my human design certification. She also is a 1-3 splenic um, manifestor. Her splenic is the channel of it's not talent, channel of a wavelength,
mm,
uh, a design of talented individual or talented being. But she also has a 4521. So her channel of wavelength, which is the 4816, is conscious. Her 4521 is not.
mm-hmm.
So even in that respect, her spleen still surrenders to her ego, despite the fact they're not connected. It's
Or
just kind
other way, the ego surrenders to the spleen, right?
of,
Okay.
yes, that's what I meant. Her ego surrenders to the spleen, but she has always said that it's for her. She gave a great example one time. She's like, sometimes it's just the simplest thing of when I inform somebody and how much it actually opens up what people are receptive to. So I remember her telling this story of she had 2 young children. One is a manifesting generator, the other is actually a reflector.
Ooh.
And she got on a plane and she knew she had young kids and she's from Asia, but she grew up in Europe, and so they were constantly like traveling all over the world. And she's like, I knew this was going to be a slog. It was just going to be, hell on earth for a bit, but depending on, I forget, they were going like on a pretty long trip. And she's like, I just sat down in my seat, and all I said to the people around me was like, I've got young children, if you could just kind of, be patient. Here's what I'm going to do, when they get fussy. She's like, I received so much support on that flight
Mm,
simply because when I sat down, I just kind of ran them through my game plan of how I was going to, parent my child on this long flight that, we've all been there. We've all either there as a parent or there as, watching parents struggle with children on a flight. And she's like, it was the most amazing thing ever. She's like, and at that time, I didn't know that I was a manifester. But when I go back and look at those kind of instances, it truly is as simple as informing people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And again, it's like they just want to be informed of like part of it is too of like, I've got something I'd like to run through. And then allowing them to then be like, okay, right. I mean, we all kind of respond, but in some ways, right? But it was just opening up the floor to them and being
Yeah.
like, have an impact on me.
Yeah. Well, that's such a good example of the mechanics of the manifestor too, because again, they don't have the sacral energy. They don't have that consistent, okay, I had this idea, I'm going to initiate it. They don't have the energy to follow through with it. And there's actually a really, oh, it's all the way over there. There's a really good book called Informed that was written by a manifestor. I can't remember her name. I'll put it in the show notes. Um, Tara something, Tara Littmer, maybe that's correct. But the title is Informed. She's a manifestor talking about like what it means to be a manifestor. So I read this book because clearly, right, like I'm surrounded by them. Um, I need to know, but manifestors are here to go through a creative cycle. So they initiate and they have their creative cycle and they have that creative urge, right? Because they're here to create something new, something different. And that comes in a wave of energy. And so they will have the energy for that creative urge. But when the urge dies down, when when they are going into their rest cycle, if it's something that is meant to be long term, let's say you have a business that's meant to continue to support people in some way, which again, this is most of my manifestor clients that I've worked with, they have a business that needs to keep going even when they need to go into their rest period. How do you do that? You have to bring in the people to support, right? So you have the creative urge, you have this inspiration, you will have energy for it for a time, but you have to bring in the allies that then have that sacral energy, the generators, to keep the project going. And then you bring in the projectors, right, to be like, okay, they're not doing that very efficiently at all. Like, here's how we do, here's how we do that better.
Yeah.
And then bring in your reflectors as your consultants, right, to reflect back everything that's happening, um, and help you improve your environments. But the rest cycle is just as important as the creative cycle for a manifester. And again, in this world of 9 to 5 consistency, it goes fully against the natural knowing that people have of how their energy works.
Yeah. Can we all just agree that the grind and the hustle culture like actually doesn't work for anyone? Because fun fact, it actually doesn't really work for generators either.
No, no, because if we're supposed to do the same thing all the time, right? It's like that is also where burnout happens because typically then us as generators, we're like, no, I don't want to do that anymore, but I still have to do it. My
And
body is screaming no. And it takes an act of, I don't know. I mean, for me, it was like, I can't be here anymore. I
yeah.
knew myself. It felt like a matter of life and death at that point. Like, I will die if I stay here.
Okay, I'm gonna throw out this. This is gonna be real radical,
Drop it.
but okay. So you talk about that a manifestor doesn't have sacral energy. Anyone but a generator doesn't have sacral energy, right? Um, but so they're amplifying this really big energy that you and I, people like you and I carry around. So if you're not I would venture to guess most generators would say like, yeah, I got a lot of energy and I got some big energy behind me, right? So imagine that big energy being amplified by the rest of the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to focus in on the United States. It's where we both live. Other countries have create a little bit more, and I'm not going to sit here, I'm not here to bash America and lift everybody up or bash everybody and lift America up. This is just a general observation based on our culture here in the United States, is that other countries have done a much more effective job in areas of their schedules are not what we've created here in America, right? America is really founded on independence, personal freedom, right? Regardless of what your opinion is right now about where we are in that stage. But like our founding principles, like, but we're also built on really hard work, but like we overwork ourselves. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
you've seen that meme that's like somebody in, I'm making up a country, so please don't use this against me. Germany, who's like, I'm going on leave, I'll be back in 6 months. I'll check you then. And then the American's like, well, I'm going to go have heart surgery. Just let me get through that and I'll be on my email when I'm done. Right.
Right.
And how much we are actually truly killing ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you look at the health, health of Americans is not great.
No.
And what is the number one killer in America? It's heart disease. And heart from an energetic standpoint is linked to the ego center.
Mm-hmm.
So think about manifestors who clearly have an open sacral. A good majority of them probably have a defined ego, but that's also the motor that needs significant rest.
Yeah.
So, from an energetic standpoint, overworking their heart, amplifying a generator's energy, heart disease. You can also flip it the other way. It's like those who do not have a defined ego are overcommitting and overworking themselves,
Mm-hmm.
straining their heart, trying to keep up with this. You got to be consistent. You got to be disciplined. You got to be this. You got to be that. And all the things you think you're not, you're trying to keep up with. Like we were legitimately killing ourselves
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
because we ignore energy.
Mm-hmm. I would go even so far as to say we see energy ebbs and flows as a flaw to control, to
Oh, I like it.
right? Because it's not even just that, like when you talk about discipline, when people talk about willpower, right? It's like, yeah, I didn't want to do this thing either, but I did it anyway, even though I didn't want to. And that's exemplified and lifted up in our culture here.
Yeah. You put your head down and you did it.
Right? Yeah, and that's what's cheered on, right? And that's when you have accountability partners and even, different coaching containers and different things like that. I'm just not here for most of that anymore because I'm like, unless you are going to understand my energy and I understand yours, that's what I'm here for. But I am not here for you to try and like shame or guilt me into doing things that are a clear no.
Yes, that may be great things, but my body's like, ah, no, we're not going to do that. That doesn't feel good for me right now, or I don't have the energy for that right now, or whatever the case may be.
Hmm.
But again, like going back to the manifester of like how incredibly powerful they are and how much like anybody, it doesn't matter. All of us have quote unquote suffered the same fate of how our energy has been redirected or misdirected because we just don't understand the mechanics.
Hmm.
Simple as that. Again, there's no blame or shame or guilt for anybody who I mean, God, I'm a parent and I already noticed I gotta unravel some conditioning things that
Right.
I've instilled in my children because I didn't understand their energy. Um, but yeah, I mean, here, and we didn't necessarily talk about this before we hopped on, but my nephew just had a baby, a 4/6 emotional manifester,
Oh.
being raised by an emotional generator and a sacral generator.
Mm-hmm.
He has two manifesting channels. He's got the channel of openness, so the same one Adam has, the 2212. He also has the money line, the 4521.
Oh my gosh.
He also has half of transitoriness. So he's got he's already got manifestor running through him, but now he's got pressure to let's go into all these new experiences and let me see what's going on. And I haven't said anything yet because he's 3 weeks old, right? But I don't, I have a close enough relationship with my nephew and his fiance to be like, guys, you got something special on your hands,
Yeah.
and you might run into some resistance raising him if you don't understand his energy,
Yeah.
right? 'Cause raising manifesting children is like raising them to, you just have to ask for permission, right? When they're younger, just ask for permission,
Right.
right? And then for him, right, it will be the authority of it all. Like, oh, wait a minute, buddy. Let's take a hot second. I know you feel really charged about initiating this right now. Why don't we sleep on it? You know how challenging it is to raise an emotional, it doesn't
Oh
matter
my
who
gosh.
it, an emotional authority, any child to be like, oh, why don't we take a hard beat? At least 24 hours. Can you go 24 hours for me?
Mm-hmm.
Their world of I want it now and instant gratification is even more than when we were growing up.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, two of my three kids are emotional authority. Yeah. And it's a constant struggle.
Can you just sleep on it? Just please.
Let's wait. Yeah. And then there's, my oldest daughter, who she wants to go to California Adventure to see Cars Land. That one has stuck. That's every day she talks about it. So, like,
Well, once it sticks, it's
yeah.
like, okay. Yeah, okay. And that's where all of this like becomes so challenging is that yes, we are all particularly in a family and with our children, right? We're all we're always constantly connected energetically. But finding a way to make the best decisions for ourselves, like as a parent, how do I best make this decision for my child or with my child, depending on what it looks like, but also enabling them to make the best decisions for themselves.
Mhm.
Because the opposite can be true too, right? You know me, I'm splenic as I'll get out, right? I say I'm a splenic generator. I know that I have sacral, but if you saw my chart, you would understand I'm a splenic generator. Um, like sometimes I'm like, why just come on, it's a great decision. Let's make it right now. And then I'm like, oh, I have to stop.
Mhm.
Can't do that.
I
And
don't
again,
actually have the energy for that. Right.
yeah. Or no, or I'm like, no, you have to sleep on it because you're emotional and I can't make that decision for you. It's like, okay. And again, it's like from a manifesting standpoint, or yeah, from a manifestor standpoint of like, if you're a parent out there and you have a manifestor, I think the greatest thing you can do is one, understand what their authority is so that you can support them in gaining correctness of what to initiate.
Hmm.
Also, just get them to ask permission,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And teaching them, it's not that are you're not enough, that you always have to ask permission. It's that your aura in some ways, unbeknownst to you, is basically telling other people to F off.
Right.
And so as a child, it's teaching them how to ask for permission, but as they get older, to then morph that into I'm informing you. Because the
Mhm.
asking for permission is the informant of, like, from a child to parent relationship is,
Right.
mom and dad, this is what I want to do. I'm coming to you to ask.
Right. Rather than just doing the thing. Right. Because then, and you can, it's a little different when you meet an adult who's like, I don't get it. But if we track it back to, how many, that's such a good question to even ask. Like, if you're an adult now, how many times did you just do things because you didn't want to tell anyone else? You just wanted to do the thing and you didn't want to hear no.
Well, that's the thing. They don't want to hear no because,
Right.
understandably, who does?
No,
Does.
true. It's true.
Um, but it's like, because I'm also going to say something fairly radical. I think if children were left to their own devices, while I understand that is not feasible, without the conditioning of parents or teachers or coaches or whatever, I think we would all figure out our energy pretty easily.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh, that has to be true. That has to be true because it's so like, as you know, if you meet someone and like talk to them about their chart, if they don't know very much about their chart, as soon as you start to say, "Well, have you ever experienced this or that?" or just based on what you see from their chart, and then it's just like they feel it immediately. They're like, "Oh, yeah, that's me, 100%." Like, and then they'll start with the stories like, oh my God, this, I had this example and like, and this thing happened literally when I was 7 and then last week. And that's exactly, it's exactly right. What you're telling me right now, like that's exactly what I was just feeling. How did you know that? Because it's
Yeah,
right there. I see it.
yeah. I mean, because manifestors, to your point, or what we're talking about, they don't want to be told no because they innately know they have the power to start.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I've heard from them, it's like, I just don't want anyone to put shackles on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And from that, I love that framework of especially, from a child development standpoint, from 0 to 7, that child is just taking in everything. It doesn't, nothing is wrong to that child because it's what's in your environment is what's true about the world. That's what our nervous system takes in, right? We know that that's not correct, but from a child's development perspective, that's what they're taking in and feeling. And then from 7 to 14 is when they start their differentiation, right? When they start to say, okay, I know what my world normally looks like. Now I'm going to start to have opinions about it. Right. And so we have these opportunities 0 to 7, 7 to 14, 14 to 21. We have these opportunities as parents to recognize what they're doing developmentally right now and how we can support them properly. So, I mean, all of my youngest is 10. And I know, like, I was just talking to my husband about this the other day, or someone. I was talking to someone about this. In our neighborhood that we just moved from, there were tons of kids all around the same age. It was really fun. It was really beautiful. But all of the boys, when they hit that age, like 7 to 8, they were all complete a-holes to each other all the time. They just got mean. And it was really interesting
Interesting.
because they would get along before that. And then suddenly, like when they all started turning 7 and 8, they started just really like going at each other. And then when they came back out of it, they calmed down and were friends again. Right around like age 9, 10, things started to calm down a little bit. And it was just so, and when I looked at it from like a higher, like, oh, this is all of them. Because they hit it at different ages too, or at different years, right? Because they're, slightly different ages. And you could like see it happening because they were hitting that developmental stage of, okay, now I'm going to assert myself.
Right. I've now kind of made this like I think in normal terms we would say cognitive leap, but I would probably say now energetic leap.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's that, okay, now I'm a different person than you. I recognize that I'm a different person from my parents, and I'm
Yeah.
going to assert that.
This also brought something up. So, we were talking about asking for permission. Yeah, I wanted to look at my son's chart. So my son, my older son Tyler, is a manifesting generator, but he's a manifesting generator. He's a generator with a manifesting channel. And I know maybe some of the audience doesn't discern that difference, but you don't need to know that, right? But it's interesting because his manifesting channel and what makes him an emotional manifesting generator is the channel of transitoriness. So 35, 36.
Mm.
That is cut off. He's a split definition. That is cut off from his generator.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
So growing up, I remember telling him, like, he would go just do things. And I remember telling him, honey, I just need for you to inform me. Like,
Yeah.
he was the kid who would just like, whoop, I'm gone. And then I'd be like, where is my child? And he would just go. I'd be like, buddy, you're allowed to go, right? Because I know where you are, and I know what neighborhood we're in, or I know like you can't get out, right? And I'd be like, buddy, you just need to let me know when you've left the house.
Right.
So it's interesting that yes, he is a generator, but consciously, because that's cut off from his like his manifesting channel is cut off from his generator. I have noticed now that I've learned his energy, he has manifestor tendencies, which is
Interesting.
actually very different from you being a pure manifesting generator.
Yeah, because mine's the 3420 is my manifesting generator channel.
Yes. And man alive, if that child doesn't get angry,
Mm,
there is more than frustration with him. So for anybody out there from a not self, or what I like to call borrowed frequency standpoint of manifestors, is that when they are out of alignment, they experience anger.
hmm.
It's anger of I can't do what I want, or I can't initiate or impact in a way that feels correct for me. And when he experiences it, it's not just your traditional frustration. It is rage,
Mm.
and it's also a very volatile emotional wave because it's all about desire.
Yes, that one's the jagged. It's a
Yeah.
jagged wave, right?
Yeah, it's all like about the desire, and every time that he enters into something, it needs to be this like magnificent experience. And if it's not, then his world just comes crashing down. Or even if it is, his world comes crashing down because this beautiful thing is now over. And it is just this like, might murder somebody kind of energy. But it's interesting of how all these dynamics come together. And it truly is. I'm like, I just need to be informed. I just need to just tell me.
Just let me know. And so that gets to two other pieces that I think are super important to mention before we wrap up is the anger and peace, right? So the not self theme of anger, the I am in myself theme of peace is the manifester um, just hallmark, right? It's their, what is that?
How do they know when they're in alignment? Like their
Right.
signature.
Signature. Yeah. Yeah. And again, from a socialization standpoint, the women that I have worked with have a hard time expressing their anger,
Oh, I can see.
right? And it's like that's been I have one client who's amazing. She's a 6'2" emotional manifestor. Hers is the 1222 um, channel of her emotional wave. And learning, like letting when something comes up and she's feeling that emotion, being able to sit with her and let that be there. And the question is, what is your anger telling you? What's that tell? It's not wrong. It's not bad. It's information for you because socially, right? Not supposed to express that. Not supposed to be angry.
Not as a woman, no.
Not as a woman, right? With even with men, and that's interesting too. I would say with Adam is like, um, he feels the same. He's like, well, I'm not supposed to just go blow up on people either,
It's fair.
right? Yes, which is fair. That outward expression of anger when it is damaging, right? And so there's this, even seeing that the peace and anger, manifestors will see that and be like I don't necessarily connect with that because they haven't allowed themselves to actually connect with the emotion of anger on a true frequency level and just have like I'm not supposed to blow up. Or they have that they might have an expression or they might feel like yeah, I get angry about things all the time and I just have to stuff it down. So again, there's not a healthy relationship even with the term anger.
Yeah. I was on something the other day, and this is something that really stuck with me. Again, as an emotionally undefined person, but it will help everybody because I think a lot of emotional people still aren't even in tune with their emotions because to your point, we got to stuff it down. We can't fit, we can't. But if I express it, then what is it gonna mean? Da, da, da. And emotions aren't in the way; they are pointing the way
Ooh, yes.
to something that needs to be expressed or addressed.
Mm-hmm. Oh, say it again.
Your emotions are not in the way, they're pointing the way to something that needs to be expressed or addressed.
Mm, write that down. So good. Oh my gosh.
Then there's
Um,
another one. Hold on, there's
oh,
another one. What we suppress, our bodies will express.
mm-hmm. Yes.
So think about that from an emotional standpoint is that it's any emotion we feel is pointing towards something. In the moment that we don't express it, because that's what emotions are here. Emotions are here to be expressed. They may not always be in the healthy way, but right? Who out there hasn't said, like, oh my God, once I finally expressed it, I felt so much better.
Right.
But if we suppress it or when we suppress it, our bodies will figure out a way to express it for us.
Mm-hmm.
Weight gain, autoimmune challenges, skin challenges, lack of sleep, turn to food, right? An unhealthy relationship with food or drugs or sex or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not only do we need to cut the hustle culture, we also need to find ways to encourage people to express emotion
Yeah.
and be okay that sometimes there might be blowups.
Right. It's not perfect. It's not always things aren't always said perfectly.
Okay.
Oh, it's such a good point. The last thing I wanted to say that we both expressed before we hit record today was that as a generator, as a manifesting generator for me, a generator for Lauren, we're like seeing a manifester do the thing, right? Like it is such a beautiful thing to witness, to support, right? Like I get so excited to see manifestors being like in their element.
Mhm.
And I don't know that especially if you're like new to human design, you're just finding out that you're a manifester, you maybe have never felt that. But we are here like to support you and like to see you thrive is like amazing.
Yes. Yeah, because it's that powerful energy. And it's like to be in the presence of it is just like, oh, just let me see it. Let me see it in action.
Mm-hmm.
If you need me, I'll respond to whatever whatever feels correct in terms of what you're doing, but just I'll sit back and watch. Let me give some popcorn in a good way. Of just watching you just initiate what is correct for you, but then making an impact on the people around you.
Mm-hmm.
But see what you've got to also understand for anybody who's not a manifester is to not take it personally because oftentimes they don't know they're here to make an impact.
Mm-hmm.
And when they are making an impact, they sometimes are not aware. But they can also be dismissive of the impact because it's just like, I just did my thing. I'm moving on. Right. Whereas maybe some other people want to be like, no, I want to tell you all the, and they're like, yeah, I don't want to hear it. Like, I'm good. Just let me go do my next thing. Right. And so that's what I love about when you really understand the mechanics of energy, you look at it from a very logical point of view. Now, please also be mindful. I have a very logical mind. So like the hard and fast of a concept really just resonates with me. Um, but yeah, it's not to take it personally. They
Yeah.
just they go. Their aura is like, no, we're good here. I'm going on to the next thing. But how beautiful it is. Just to
Mm-hmm.
watch back like, oh, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, done.
And now I'm resting and I'll figure out what's next.
Yeah.
Um, exactly. And to take that rest. And that maybe that's the last little tip here. You know, dropping nuggets all the way through, right? Is that if you are pushing through and pushing past to the point where you're feeling literally exhausted. I know I've said it a million times. My husband is not like he's skeptical of all things, and that's fine. But his energy shows very, and if he needs to take a rest, like take a break, like a day off, he needs more than a day, but we're working on it. But when he notices, like, I just need a day to actually like rest. He's even said, like, I could feel myself at like 50% was my max. And it was pushing hard to get to 50. And when I take that rest time, I can come back at 100%. Like, yes, yes.
Mhm.
Take when you need rest, just let me know and I will help clear the way for you to have that rest. Right? Like that's the inform and let the generator in me clear the path.
But imagine how much resentment that reduces inside of a marriage.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Right? When if you didn't understand this, and I'm not speaking to actually your relationship, but if neither you nor he understood that, I could see it working out that a generator could get really resentful of a projector or a manifester of like, why are you always resting? Or the opposite way, like, can't you just sit down?
Right.
Like, good God, just stop. Da, 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 da. But when you understand those mechanics, you then can partner in a completely different way.
Oh,
And inform you, sweets, I just need a break. And you're like, that is totally understandable. You are not an Energizer bunny. Fun fact, the only people who should be able to jump out of bed ready to attack the world are generators or manifesting generators, so
right.
long as they are correct. Meet a generator manifesting who's not correct, they're not jumping anywhere. They're so damn frustrated with the world, they're not going to do anything. But that's the beauty of understanding these mechanics, not just with your children, but with your partners, with your teams, with your friends. Like, therein lies the beauty. especially from a manifestor standpoint of, I just need my rest right now.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I got you. I'm right here. I can pick up the load
Yep.
because I'm responding to you. I love you. Or there may be days when a generator's like, well, we'll get to it later.
Yeah.
No, I don't even have the energy for it right now.
Everybody sits on the couch and watches Lord of the Rings. It's fine.
You know,
Whatever. Lauren, I am so grateful that I was able to spend so much time with you today. Thank you so much. And this is such an important topic. I love the way that we can weave it together for, teams, families, children, partners, all of that. Because I mean, it is like, it's just all intertwined, integrated. So if someone is listening and they're like, okay, tell me more about borrowed frequency. Tell me, what does that mean? Where can they find you?
yeah, I usually show up on LinkedIn. You can find me under Lauren Ammon. But I also have a Substack, and that's where I really dive into borrowed frequency, what the frequency mirror really means. And that is the performance code. If you go on Substack or you're not familiar, all you have to do is just either type in my name or the performance code, and everything will pop up and you can subscribe. And I have a lot of content out there that really goes in depth as to what this all means. So, interested, that's where you can find me.
Beautiful. That will all be in the show notes. And thank you, dear friend. This was so wonderful. I loved every minute, and I'm sure we'll do it again the next time we're inspired.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for having me, friend. I love you so much.
That's it for this episode. Thanks for listening, and be sure to like and subscribe. And again, if anything resonated with you from this episode, I would love to hear from you. Email me at Hannah, HANNAH, at expansiveceo.com and tell me about it. And if you're ready for your greatest expansion, you can find ways to work with me at expansiveceo.com and at x2wealthplanning.com. That's X, the numeral 2, wealthplanning.com. So until next time, remember that there is enough. You are enough. And your birthright in this lifetime is to be expansive.